Hello, this is AstrologerCoach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming full moon in almost 28 degrees of Capricorn, which will be exact on July 19th at 6:57 p.m. East Coast time in the US, which is also New York time, or 3:57 p.m. Pacific time, which is also LA time on the West Coast. Now, a full moon is always an opposition between the sun and the moon. And so for the next 2 weeks, we're seeking the balance and to integrate these opposite energies. And we're more aware that something has become out of alignment. And so the balance in question here is between our inner experience, our feeling body, our needs, our inner safety, which is symbolized by Cancer, and our outer obligations or goals, the outside world, the ability to achieve and to accomplish in the outside world. And that's symbolized by Capricorn. And it's really important to realize that our long-term goals need our attention now, and that they will bring fulfillment and inner stability when we start to focus there a little bit more. Now, Cancer and Capricorn are both receptive, feminine, yin energies. And so we're definitely being asked to go within before taking actions, right? So allowing ourselves to receive and do things from the inside out, right? First the internal process, then comes the outer process. That's a very feminine way of going about, right? Cancer, for example, must recognize first its own needs internally in order to feel completely stable, internally stable, and being able to come out of its shell, right? And if we don't manage that, if we're not capable of being there for ourselves, then we are always going to give away our power to other people. And we already talked about that a little bit in our last video from 2 weeks ago, in the new moon video in Cancer, right? Now, Capricorn, on the other hand, which is the opposite, right, must develop an internalized sense of authority and responsibility. Again, it's from the inside out. We need to internally first get clearer about our own responsibility that we have in the world and towards ourselves and other people, and the inner authority that we can connect with, like that we're capable in the world, right? And so this full moon really asks us to look very closely at the balance between those two energies, between taking care of ourselves versus taking care of others, and who we are inside on an emotional level versus what we project out into the world, how we portray ourselves in the outer world, right? So for the next 2 weeks, we could be really productive with that Capricorn energy. But depending on how well we integrate that polarity, right? It's very important that we integrate those two sides in order to really be very productive. And so as best as you can, avoid shoulding on yourself. Take the pressure off, right? That's sort of like a Capricorn trait a little bit. This should and more and, pressure. And try saying to yourself, I'm doing the best I can, and that's all I can ever do. And that is more connected to that caring Cancer energy, caring for yourself, letting yourself know that, as long as you're doing the best you can, you're doing okay. And take care of yourself in the process of whatever it is that you want to achieve or accomplish, right? Now, the other part of this full moon is connected to the Uranus energy. Uranus is stationing at the time of the full moon in Aries, and it's also making a square to the full moon. So this is a very potent energy, right, with the station, because that means that anything connected to the Uranus themes or energies is going to be more in our face. We're going to be more aware of it. And so for the next 3 weeks, as this station is taking place, we're really needing to focus on, or being more aware of, where do we need to break away from traditional structures, old ways of doing things, and moving more towards a new future that serves, others as well as ourselves, and where we're really capable of bringing about new ideas, new visions, new ways of being in the world, right? That's sort of like levels the playing field, where we're all sort of like part of it in an equal way, right? And of course with Uranus as well, one thing that's important to recognize with that energy is that it's kind of like a very unpredictable energy. So we need to expect the unexpected during the time of the station, right? And the other thing that Uranus is very big on is our inner and outer freedoms, right? So we definitely are getting to explore and focus and become more aware of what those freedoms are. And so most likely there's going to be a lot more discussion around, you know, people's freedoms and what freedom is all about in the world that we currently live in, and what kinds of freedoms do we want and not want, right? And so the outer freedom, of course, or the lack thereof, always reflects how free we allow ourselves to be on an internal level, what goes on internally, right? And so we might have flashes of insight during that station time, or new ideas about what needs to change in our lives. And so questions that you can ask yourself is, what might this be for me? You know, what might this change need to be for me? And where do I feel the desire to break free? Where do I feel that urge that I need more freedom? You know, and really take a look at, you know, where freedom or the lack of freedom shows up in your world. You know, where is that originating inside of yourself, right? And in what ways, you can ask yourself, in what ways am I not giving myself permission to be free, to be unique, to be myself, right? Because that always starts on the inside, right? And whatever we experience in the outside world, you know, that's just a reflection of that, right? So as always, you know, with all the questions that I'm posing in my videos, you know, feel free to look them up also on my website if you want to see them in writing. You know, they're available at AstrologerCoach.com via my weekly forecasts after July 17th. That's when I'll be posting them. And then just go to the July 19th entry where I talk about the full moon, and then there is going to be all the questions. You can also sign up for my weekly forecasts to get them via email if you want to receive them in your inbox. Just email us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write weekly forecasts in the subject line, and then we'll add you to that mailing list. All right. Now back to the full moon and to the Uranus station. Uranus is a very erratic energy. You know, there's a lot of nervousness and restlessness that can be connected to the Uranian energy. So all of that is going to be moving through our bodies at the time of the station, right? We're going to be really feeling that very strongly, you know, and so it's really a good idea for us to kind of stay in movement and kind of shake things out in our bodies, right? Exercise, dancing, jumping, skipping around, you know, anything that kind of like loosens up that energy inside of you is really valuable, right? Now, the other thing with Uranus is, rather than blindly doing our own thing, it really serves us now to focus on aligning our visions and desires with our partnerships or with other people in our lives, and really creating win-win scenarios wherever we can. Because, you know, Uranus is a square to the full moon, and so the empty leg of that square, of that T-square, is the Libra energy. That's the empty leg. And Libra is all about collaboration. It's about negotiating. It's about talking to each other and allowing each other to see where we're at together, right? It's a we energy, right? And so this really gives us an opportunity here to look at how free we truly feel within our one-on-one relationships, and how can we bring that sense of freedom to our relationships, right? How can we bring that sense of, you know, that development, that inner awareness around freedom? How can we talk about that within our relationships and make sure, you know, the other person knows what's going on with us internally, right? So there's questions you can ask yourself with that energy and with that T-square. Are we expressing our individuality to the fullest? Are we connecting to a larger vision for our future? Is anything holding us back right now? And, as best as you can, share your ideas and inspire other people, inspire other people and share your vision of a better future with them. See who you want to come on board with you, and see how you can collaborate and connect with other people to make all of that happen, right? So really be in contact rather than, being caught in your own inner world and being caught in, here's what I need to do, here's how I need to break free. Connect, collaborate, communicate, right? And so with Uranus beginning its 5 months retrograde cycle on July 29th, at the end of the month, we're really invited to kind of go within with that energy, take a look at what's been thwarting our progress, and sense of freedom, and really connecting to that from the inside out. What is happening inside of us that is not allowing for our progress to take place in the outside world. And if there's something blocking internally, if there's something that we're not recognizing or that we're not being aware of that's happening internally that's blocking us, we can't manifest what we want to manifest. We can't have the progress that we want to have, right? So we need to look at that internally first. And that's the value of the retrograde phase, is that we're getting a chance to really take a look at that on an internal level and look to see what needs to be addressed, what needs to be unblocked, so we can make a quantum leap forward, right? Now, another part of this full moon is Venus aligns with Mercury in Leo at the time of the full moon, and this aspect supports communication and playful connection with others, so that's really great. And so we're capable of great generosity, joy, expressing our inner child. And this aspect also supports a connection with children in general in our lives. So, being more present in the here and now and with what we're creating, the creative process, being in the zone, coming from our hearts, enjoying our creative process, enjoying what's going on in the moment. These are all very childlike qualities, and we're being invited to kind of get in touch with those qualities, right, at the time of the full moon and for the next 2 weeks, right? Now, Saturn, which is currently traveling through Sagittarius, is the ruler of Capricorn. And so since this is the full moon in Capricorn, Saturn definitely has an important, is important for us to take a look at for this full moon. And Saturn trines that Venus Mercury alignment in Leo, but it also squares Neptune in Pisces still, which it will, until October. So here's two things we need to take a look at. First, Saturn connecting to that Venus-Mercury alignment in Leo allows us for a more mature approach towards our inner child. So questions you can ask yourself here is, what's my heart's desire? And how can I concretely and more truthfully connect to my heart's desire? Right? That's Saturn energy is giving us the opportunity to really focus and zoom in there and see it. Right? How can we connect to the heart energy? And what might be possible if I explored that in a meaningful way? Something that has really meaning for me. And what if I committed to that exploration and at the same time allow for it to unfold? And that's where the Neptune square comes in, right? We also want to trust the process. Neptune says to us, just trust the flow of life. Trust that the universe is supporting you and trust the divine timing of things, right? So even if we're committing to that exploration, we're wanting to trust that it's all unfolding as it needs to in the exact perfect timing, right? Now, another part of this full moon is the Chiron placement that's also in Pisces in 25 degrees. It's making a beautiful trine to the Sun in Cancer and Mars in Scorpio. So that creates kind of like a grand trine, which is something we already had 2 weeks ago with different planets involved. But we definitely, that resonates back to that grand trine that we talked about with the new moon in Cancer. So feel free to go back to that video and listen to that again. But this time, this grand trine or Chiron is also making a sextile to the moon in Capricorn. So this combination really allows us to bring healing and kindness to ourselves and our dealings with the outside world, right? Capricorn, it has to do with the outside world. And as best as you can, be kind and gentle and compassionate and accepting of yourself. This is what's really going to help you integrate that Cancer-Capricorn polarity by doing that healing work, being able to move towards that healing process with yourself, with your higher self, with your emotional, intuitive self. This will help find that balance between Cancer and Capricorn. And here are some coaching questions that you can ask yourself with that. How does my inner life inform my outer? And what if self-love and self-acceptance led to self-alignment? And self-alignment is really that Cancer energy, right? It's that, how do we get connected to ourselves, to our inner selves, to our emotional life, right? So what if self-love and self-acceptance led to self-alignment, right? And if that were even a chance of being true, is it worth trying 5% more self-acceptance as an experiment for these next 2 weeks, right? So if every day, could you just attempt to have 5% more self-acceptance towards yourself, whatever that means to you. An acceptance towards yourself means, accepting all of who you are, not just what you're comfortable with yourself, but all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? I like to say. Be kind around that, kindness and self-acceptance. And so once again, this message of this full moon is really connected to our internal masculine-feminine balance, right? Cancer Capricorn is that feminine energy, that grand trine is that feminine energy in the water signs. But then we also have Uranus in Aries, all these planets in Leo, Saturn in Sagittarius. Those are masculine energies, right? So we're really attempting to look to see how can we find a better way of integrating feminine and masculine within ourselves, so we can be both powerful and kind, honor ourselves and other people, access our head and our heart, really bringing those two together. And this is something, of course, we've been practicing for a while now, with trying to bring the head and the heart together. But, it's really essential that we're really connecting to our torso, right? The torso is where there's a lot happening in our torso area, the heart, the gut, our lower chakras. There's a lot going on. That's a lot of information for us. And we don't want to be cut off from our neck down, right? Because a lot of us just operate up here, And so connecting our head with our heart, or our upper sphere with our torso, so that we can be more centered within ourselves, so that we can experience more peace. This is very important, this balance here, right? And really integrating oppositions brings limitless benefits. Just ask yourself, what if I'm more than just one thing? What if I'm many things at multiple times? What if I simply stopped identifying with who I think I am, the conditioning, our thinking structures, our belief systems, right? And opened myself up to a whole new way of being. Being being the operative word, not thinking, right? So what if I simply stopped identifying with who I think I am and opened myself up to a whole new way of being, a fuller, more complex, more integrated being, right? And how might I show up in the world as such a being, You know, when I'm more integrated within myself, when I have more of these oppositions integrated and connected and balanced within myself. And so really, like, these questions, you know, sit with them. You don't have to answer them right away. Meditate on them, journal on them, allow yourself to just be with these questions for the next 2 weeks. Allow the answers to just pop up as they do as you are going through your life these next 2 weeks, and just see how some of these things that pop up resonate with these questions, right? And as best as you can, you know, take responsibility for your thoughts and belief systems. You know, they're yours. They're your thoughts. They're your belief systems. And they create your reality. So other people out there in the outside world are just simply a reflection of those thoughts and those truths, right? And of course, as always with that Cancer Capricorn polarity being involved, you know, it's important to remind yourself, take baby steps. Something we've already talked about in the new moon video in Cancer 2 weeks ago, right? Or if you prefer, take it one day at a time. That's more connected to that Capricorn energy. Take it one day at a time. Take baby steps. That's more connected to that Cancer energy, right? And I have a last question for you before we move on. Why would you sprint if you can get there wherever you're going at the perfect time by walking? And this is very much Cancer Capricorn, right? And you won't be out of breath when you arrive if you're just walking, right? If you're sprinting, you're going to be out of breath. And so it's not about being the fastest person to get to the goal. It's about getting there without neglecting yourself. And that is that Cancer Capricorn polarity that we're really trying to integrate and balance, right? So if you have an ascendant, a career point, or any personal planets in 25 to 29 degrees of Capricorn, Cancer, Libra, or Aries, then you're definitely going to feel more connected to this full moon. You're going to feel the energies of this full moon more strongly. But even if you don't have personal planets in those degrees and signs, the house placements in your natal chart that are affected by this full moon are equally as important to take a look at. So if you have a birth chart, you know, take a look. Where does 27 or 28 degrees of Cancer and Capricorn land in your natal chart, right? What are those houses, those areas of life, right? Like, what are they, and how can you integrate and balance those areas of your life for the next 2 weeks, right? And if you don't have a birth chart, or if you don't know how to look that up in your birth chart, feel free to watch my video on how to read your birth chart. You can email us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write recording in the subject line, and my assistant will email you that recording with some handouts. And it's also a great recording to watch right before you join the monthly forecasting forum. If you have been thinking about joining us, it's a great way of really getting in alignment with the upcoming energies, because we're going to be taking a look at our birth charts, our own birth charts actively during the forum, and see whatever energies are out there. So for example, for August, what's coming up is, you know, that Uranus Station in retrograde, and then we have Neptune, and we have the, you know, of course, the full moon. We'll talk about that a little bit as well in relationship to your birth charts. And there's several other things. I can't think of them all right now, but basically we're going to be addressing, you know, whatever these energies are, whatever these planets are doing in your birth chart, right? And to see how that plays out for you personally, right? And so if you want to join, the next one is coming up very soon. It's July 20th at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time, and 11 p.m. London time. So whatever your time zone is, you know, feel free to join. If you can't join live, you can also just get a recording from the webinar as well. And you can just sign up right now on my website at astrologercoach.com. And I also wanted to say that, this is really the best way to get the maximum support for only $24. This is 90 minutes where you can really get great value and really kind of like get to see how these energies are playing out in relationship to your birth chart. So it's a really great way to kind of connect in an inexpensive way and connect with me and, get your questions answered. So definitely feel free to join us. You can register at AstrologerCoach.com by clicking on the link below the Saturn in Sagittarius video. And when you get to that page, that forecasting forum page, please also fill out my online form as well as making your payment, because that way I know if you want to join live or if you want to just get the recording. And also you can ask questions in advance. So if you're planning on just getting the recording, for example, you can still get the maximum value for yourself by asking your own questions, by asking about what the energies are going to be about for you and what's happening for you currently. And I will do my best to answer everybody's question during the 90 minutes during the forum. Okay, so that's available. Again, all the questions in this particular video are also available on my website at astrologercoach.com via the weekly forecasts after July 17th. And you can also sign up for those via email by emailing us at info@astrologercoach.com and just writing weekly forecasts in the subject line. Or if you don't want to receive an email every Sunday evening once a week, you can also just sign up for my newsletter. Those are being sent out twice a month. And the newsletters are basically just, special offers, my videos, announcements about courses and my forum and business stuff, so feel free to stay in touch with me in that way if you prefer that. And just write newsletter in the subject line when you email us at info@astrologercoach.com. All right. So that's it. If enjoy this full moon, enjoy connecting with other people, enjoy, your inner processes as well. And if you have any general questions about the full moon, I'm always happy to answer those. Just email me at sonja@astrologercoach.com. That's SONJA@astrologercoach.com. However, if you have personal questions that require of me to take a look at your birth chart, I will ask you to book a reading with me just so I can honor my time and make sure to answer your questions fully and completely. And you can receive those readings by going to my website at astrologercoach.com and just click on the link next to services. And there's a whole list of different readings, different times, and different price ranges. So whatever works best for you at this time, I'm sure you'll find something that works for you. And yes, have a great full moon again. And remember, it's an extroverted time. It's also an emotional time where we're trying to integrate and trying to balance something within ourselves. Sometimes through our relationships and through other people, we're trying to accomplish that. So as best as you can, take it one step at a time. Be kind to yourself. Take baby steps. And I will be back in 2 weeks with my next video. Have a good one, and hopefully I'll see you at the monthly forecasting forum as well. All right, bye-bye.